Well, hello guys. Welcome to another hour with your host, Ranger Matt. That was a very long intro, I know. It's well one of the many few I've had for the last few years. It's always a blast to be here and talk with you guys. For some that don't know, I've been doing this since December of 2019, and it's been a journey. I got an announcement to make today. I have slowly but surely told a few people, and I'm going to let our guests know today as well. Um, I am thrilled to have an amazing future president of the United States here today. I don't know if she's laughing or not, but nah, this is an amazing person. Her name is Jess Lambert. She has a YouTube channel called um, Watching every single Disney film created, and I love it because for myself, who's a Disney nerd and geek, I always like meeting other people who are still fans of Disney, who watches Disney. I got Disney Plus. I got the well, I know it's not technically Disney, but it was under Disney label when I was growing up. Kiki's Delivery Service. I got that with me today, and something that she watched that first introduced me to her channel. But let me get my guest on before I bring it up, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Jess Lambert is here. Hi, Jess.
Hi.
Hey.
I was laughing. I don't know. I don't want to be president, but thank you so much.
Man, it is great to have you here today. And I got another DVD here. This is actually the film that is a favorite of mine's. And you watched it, you talked about it, and I got it right here.
Waking Sleeping Beauty. Sure.
This is
That's
actually
a good one.
this is what first turned me to your channel. When I saw you had watched that,
Oh,
I was like,
I was ready
"Whoa!"
for you to give me like some 70s deep cut because that's like what I get the most. So to get like Waking Sleeping Beauty, which I feel like I just did, is great. Wow, yay.
Awesome, awesome. Well, first off, I got to start from the beginning with you. So, what made you want to create your special YouTube channel? And I know if it wasn't for presidency, it's because you have a wonderful singing voice. You're about to drop an
Oh,
album, so you're going to do
thank
a
you.
whole. You want to do Disney songs, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was definitely a theater kid. So that's for sure there. No, so I went to film school. Shocking with the singing. But I actually went for like directing, which was a last minute choice. I don't know if I'd recommend that, but I didn't know that was something you could go to school for. I was just like, oh, I'll go to school to like be a therapist or a math teacher or something. And then a friend of mine was like, I'm gonna go to film school to direct. And I was like, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that. So I went to Columbia College Chicago, studied, did the whole thing, got my degree, and got an internship in Los Angeles. And after my internship, I got a job editing a documentary. And while I was editing the documentary, I was like, man, I would really like my dream is to direct a Disney movie one day. And I was like, well, what better way to know Disney movies than to watch them all? So I decided I wanted to watch every Disney movie ever made. And a lot of people who follow me and have been with me since the beginning or any frame of good chunk of time know that it was my mom who actually suggested to document my process on YouTube. So
Awesome.
crazy. And I was like, that's a great idea. I'll do that. And it has come, it's 8 years now. So it's been a minute and it's changed over the course of time. It's way different than when I started. But super fun. That's kind of how it came to be. And then, I mean, like my dream, and obviously, I'm not in LA anymore. I'm not like on film sets. So, the dream and vision changed, but I still love Disney movies and how they make me feel. And I definitely want to finish the project. That's for sure.
Right. Well, since you said that, so are you going to be in the new Toy Story that's going to come out?
No, I'm boycotting any Toy Story after 3.
Wow.
I was so mad they made a fourth one. I have seen the fourth one, and obviously I'll watch it eventually and review it. But I was
Mm,
so against the fourth one coming out because I was like, why would you do this? You ended it perfectly. And then now there's gonna be a fifth. I'm over it. I'm
right.
kind of getting like I'm over the sequels. I'm kind of like, we need to be done. We need to be coming out with some originals, please,
Right.
and not a remake. Everyone's gonna chill.
Right.
Remakes
Look,
I want, and then there are remakes I'm like, why are we doing this? What are we
listen, we have that in common because I felt that way too. And it's like I've always said, and not to downplay the actors who've been in the movies, not to
Oh, of
downplay what they're
course.
doing, but growing up in the '90s, because I'm a '90s baby, it's like we always look forward to new Disney films coming out. Every so often, we might see a sequel, even though they weren't known for that. Because you probably
Yeah.
know The Rescuers Down Under in 1990 was like their first sequel, and it is one of my favorites because I'm a
Yeah.
huge
It didn't do
Bernard.
well, so then they're like, we're not doing sequels.
Right. So it's like,
And
now,
then they did Toy Story 2, and they're like, wait a second.
right,
Maybe they do this. And then they've been riding the nostalgia train, so like they're trying to pump out the remakes and the sequels, and it's like, okay, you oversaturated the market, we're over it.
right. Because I feel like if they're going to keep doing these remakes with live action like actors, like they did with Beauty and the Beast and so forth, and now Lion King, when they going to do Rescuers and Robin Hood? I mean, I know we had the Robin Hood Disney stuff back in the day, but what about the '77 remake and the Aristocats? Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I don't want any of that. The remakes I'd be happy with are Atlantis and Treasure Planet. That those two would be amazing live action remakes. And then I don't need Snow White. I don't need any of these. Like, I know they did Pinocchio. I don't need that. I didn't need
Right.
Dumbo. I love Cinderella, so I'm a little bit of a because I love Cinderella. It's one of my favorite movies ever. So I'm a little a little bit of a hypocrite because I love the Cinderella live action remake. But
Right.
there are some that are like, why are we doing this? What are we doing?
I feel the same way too. And it's just ironic, it's like I said before, when we grew up, it was always something new to look forward to, because it's,
Yeah,
it's like with DreamWorks. They didn't do that. It was like Prince of Egypt, Ants, and Shrek and so forth. Even though now they're doing Shrek, I think they're doing another Shrek that's going to come out now. But
yeah.
with this Disney, it was always like a constant rego, and now it's like remake, 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 and I'm like, are they bored? Do not have anything creative new to put out there? Because
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
and
100%.
since you said '70s earlier, '70s theme earlier when I started the intro, let me see. That's my movie.
It's a bop. RESCUE.
SCUE.
There you go.
And for years I got confessed. When I was a kid and they did that, I didn't realize I was older. Oh, they're spelling out rescuers. I'm like, what are they spelling out? RESCUP.
Oh
And
my
if you look
gosh,
if you look
amazing.
if you look at that scene, you'll see a hair comb and a tie. You
Hmm.
see certain. I look at the movie. I'm like, I didn't see all this growing up, and it's really cool how they did. I never noticed it.
I loved like the cleverness of using the comb as the ladder and like all that stuff when I was young. I was like, yes, excellent.
Um, well, since you've been watching every Disney film, so let's take this down for a romp. So let's go back to Walt's years. Now, what is something that you seen that's like a favorite as far as live action and animation from the early Walt
From
years?
early years, like when Walt was there. Okay. Like really, really early. So Treasure Island was their first live action film. Very good. Billy Driscoll before he was Peter Pan, and he was like one of the first like live action Disney stars that was reused. So Treasure Island is really good, but it's not my favorite. Robin Hood and His Merry Men and The Sword and the Rose of the like really early like first few films. I love them. Richard Todd was really out here, just amazing.
Right.
Um, some other early live animated Cinderella. I mean, and then I feel like I've just gotten an appreciation for the older animations. The older I've gotten, so like when I was young, I didn't care about Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi. No, I don't care.
Oh,
Dumbo. When I was little, I was like, no. As I've gotten older, Snow White, I'm just like, and then Pinocchio like has climbed my list. I never thought that would ever happen because I was big time like at Pinocchio, but I love it. I think it's really well made. It's really good.
right.
And then Dumbo, Bambi, Peter Pan, all those are obviously classics, but Cinderella is my favorite of the old school animations. Just I'm a Cinderella stan. I can't. But if we were
Awesome.
to move past that, it would be like if we were still in Walt's years. I do like 101 Dalmatians is really really good. Just after Walt's years, probably Robin Hood is my favorite. I do love Robin Hood so much. So, and I love The Rescuers. How do you beat it?
Right. Well, for me, it's always been a tough choice, but for me, the live action side I loved the most were 20,000 Leagues because I thought that was well shot and well lit, especially when they did the underwater where the thing hit the boat and
Yeah, yeah.
and
Also, Kirk Douglas.
right, the longest living actor from that era who lives a long, he outlived all those guys. I've been told he passed,
Yeah,
and it's ironic that him, James Mason, Peter Lorre, all those guys,
yeah.
but also Mary Poppins, and I felt like that movie Christmas time, kid, adult, Mary
I was
Poppins.
gonna say, I'm like, oh, Mary Poppins was during Walt.
Yes,
Also, Almost Angels holds a special place in my heart. I love that movie with every fiber of my being. The Prince and the Pauper, The Fighting Prince of Donegal, all really, really good. I don't know if The Fighting Prince was still during Walt though. That might have been 70s, 70s.
I have to confess, I don't know what that one is.
Almost Angels was a television release, so if you don't know what that is, I'm not surprised at all. But that was the first like true hidden gem I found that I was like, my mind is exploding. I love this movie so much. And then The Fighting Prince of Donegal was actually a very good movie. I get a lot of people coming to the channel being like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy someone loves this," and I'm like, "How could you?" Like, it's actually genuinely so good.
Right,
And that scene, like that movie, still to this day, like I vividly remember being like, "Why is the sound design in this movie so good?" It's like a 70s, like or 60s or 70s
right.
random Disney movie, but super good. Highly recommend.
Now you're probably gonna go, what when I tell you this, but from Walt's time, the one that probably was not a standout to me, even though I had it on video, Alice in Wonderland.
I respect it. I'm not mad at that. Alice in Wonderland, and again, Alice in Wonderland, Bambi, Peter Pan, Fantasia. When I was young, no,
Oh my gosh.
I didn't care. I was like, ugh. It's like Cinderella and on. I was like, yes,
Right,
excellent. Um, but also I see it. Like Alice in Wonderland, it's just like a lot of stuff happening to this girl. That's just like okay. So
right.
I get
I mean,
that.
I like the movie, but it's just what I tell people is the thing that kind of makes me fast forward it, even as a kid, is just that sad scene when she's in the forest after the duster brushed her walk path in the forest, and she starts crying. Everybody in the forest, and I'm like, I get it's a Disney film and it's Avengers, but why we gotta make the kids start crying? We already cried because Bambi lost his mom. We thought Snow White was dead. Now we got Alice in Wonderland. She's crying, and it takes the cat to appear to make her snap out of it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
couldn't it just been something a little different? Because like when I
yeah,
watch a film, I don't always want to feel like, okay, now I'm gonna cry because she's
yeah,
crying, they're crying. Let's get happiness. And then there's films
yeah.
like 101 and all that that's not as emotional, where it's like I the dogs are kidnapped, but it's adventurous and it's fun. And
Totally.
of course I get to laugh when Cruella and Jasper and Horace collide into each other and go off the cliff flying, and the cars
Yeah,
break into pieces like that. That was
yeah.
a classic. Yeah.
I also think in Alice in Wonderland, that whole like side sequence with the oysters and the two guys, I'm like, what is this? It is like that's dark.
Oh yeah, and the fact that the guy ate all of them, and they were humans, and he ate all of them. It's just it's just
Yeah,
it's
yeah, they were like alive, and he was just
yeah.
like out here eating babies. It was wild. I feel like everyone forgets about that scene until they're watching, and they're like, "Oh yeah."
Right. Um. So, what is a film that you've seen? And now I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
What is a film? So, out of all the Disney films that you have watched going down the list, what is, well, we talked about the early ones, but then as
Mhm.
far as other ones, like what was either live action and animation that was you watched it and you probably went, I'm not liking this, or a little boring, or I like it. Like, what was something that might have been hard to watch?
Okay. First of all, boring, way too broad. There's a million boring Disney films, okay? The amount of movies they made about a specific animal that has like somewhat of a plot and people in it, but it's really just about the animal. So it's the same thing over and over again, just about a different animal. is kind of a crime how many they made. Um, all of those. Now I can't like. I hate all of them eventually. Like I saw some that I was like, oh, this was interesting. This was interesting. But now at this point, it's like, I think one of the most recent ones I watched was the Footloose Goose. And I'm like, I can't even begin to express how over these movies I am.
Right.
Movies I have viscerally hated. One of Our Dinosaurs Is Missing. Is probably my most hated Disney movie. It's really not great. It's also probably one of my most disliked Disney videos because people are political because I got political and whatever. But they're mad at me about that one, which is fine because it's a problematic movie.
Right.
So that's probably the one I like hate the most. But like boring, there's a lot of boring ones. There are a lot, like, not to like be like Disney, you have a lot of boring movies, but like in the 70s when they were putting out like a movie every Sunday on the Disney Channel or on ABC or whatever, they're not all going to be bangers.
Right.
So, any of the animal ones, Charlie the Lonesome Cougar. I remember 10 Who Dared. I remember because that was number 50. And I remember being like, let's go, number 50. And then me being like, what am I watching? This is so boring. The Boy Who Flew with Condors, I also hated. That was probably my first like visceral, like, I'm upset at this movie reaction. And people were mad at me for that one too, because it's about sail planing. And it was kind of a documentary, and people were like, you're being too mean. And I was like, well, you know what? That's how I felt. So
right.
No hate to the people who were sail planing. Like, it's just the movie's boring.
Right.
Yeah. So those are like my big boring ones, I guess. If you want me to do like a bigger named film that I think is boring, the review for this isn't even out yet. And I wouldn't say it's like horribly boring, but like Oz the Great and Powerful is kind of a little bit like, it's not fabulous, like it's fine.
Right.
So I would say any animal movie that is the same thing over and over again, that's it for me. I'm like, oh, time to take a nap or something. Like, I can't.
Well, we're going to tap on some animals a bit, but
Okay.
as far as Disney films in the 80s, and of course, if you know, that was there when Rob Miller was running the company, and then came Michael Eisner, Frank Welch, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and all them. But during that era with the 80s, from Fox and the Hound to Mermaid, what was your favorite out of the 80s films?
Okay, well, Little Mermaid, but that's an easy answer. But Fox and the Hound, it's like you can't rewatch that movie. It's just so sad. Like, I can like hear the scene of Copper standing in front of Todd before, Slade can shoot him. I can hear it without seeing it and be like, oh, like, oh no, I'm gonna cry. And I think there's something to say about the Black Cauldron. I've never read the books for Black Cauldron, so I thought the movie was really cool. It's a cool movie. And then Oliver and Company and Great Mouse Detective are both so good. So I feel like the 80s gets kind of hated on. But I loved Oliver and Company growing up. That was like, I rewatched that a ton. I loved it. I thought it was so fun. I didn't like it more than Little Mermaid, but I still loved Oliver and Company. But yeah, no, Little Mermaid was like a movie between me and my mom when I was young. So like, I cherish Little Mermaid. It's probably one of my favorite Disney movies ever.
Right.
So if we're counting Little Mermaid, it's Little Mermaid. But
oh, sure, most definitely. Well, for me, I loved all the 80s films. Fox and the Hound, of course, stood out. One thing about that movie that was tricky for me was, and Ron Clements said this in a interview, and I'm going to interview him later this month. He said that he thought that the plot where Chief gets injured, instead of him getting hit by the train, maybe he should have died to give Copper more reason to hate Todd, because he felt that minor hatred was just minor. So on that level, I thought like, well, possibility, but
Sure. I think there's an argument for both. I mean, Copper is also in a home where his owner is constantly telling him to hate these creatures and everything. So like, there's a nurture versus nature
right
thing. So it's like it's like the stuff he's being told gets solidified when Chief gets hurt. So
Right.
it's, you know, I definitely like if he had died 100%, that would have been like really solidifying,
Yeah. Um, Black Cauldron was okay. I mean, it was
Yeah.
it was
It's
okay.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a
I,
beautiful movie to look at.
right. Now, like you said, Oliver and Company and The Great Mouse Detective, those two films I adored as a kid.
Hmm.
Even though I was older by the time I realized Tito was a Chihuahua, I never put that in my brain that was as a kid. I never realized that's a Chihuahua, and
They even got Cheech Marin to voice him.
right.
Um, Like that would be the equivalent if they made it today. It'd be George Lopez. Let's be honest.
Yep, most likely.
Yeah.
The Great Mouse Detective was this classic of just. I mean, I think it could have stayed Basil or Baker Street, but I thought Great Mouse Detective title itself was okay.
Yeah.
But the whole
Yeah.
plot, the music,
Hmm.
everything was just great. And I
Yeah.
love the Little Mermaid, even though I know it's some people may call it a girl film, but hey,
No.
every time Part of Your World comes on, my heart melts. Even if I
That
hear
was
it
the first movie that like kind of crushed that out of the water.
right.
It was like, oh, boys won't see a girl movie. Oh yeah. Well, The Little Mermaid just saved the entire Disney company. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, you're right. And it was also the first film where it had that because Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, that was their first project, that Broadway feel with that movie. And
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
like that it was great all the way around
Yeah.
from the
Well,
80s.
and Jeffrey Katzenberg wanting to cut Part of Your World.
I
Insane.
know.
Insane.
Not to throw shade on him, but I remember watching that in Waking Sleeping Beauty, and I said, maybe that's why Jeffrey had that false smile on his head because somebody popped him for saying that because you cutting that song out. What?
Well, he definitely ate those words. He learned his lesson on that one.
Mhm. And I'm going to also add too from the '80s. Roger Rabbit was another great
Oh,
Disney
sure.
film
Sure.
that they
Roger
did.
Rabbit was not a Disney release.
Right.
Um, but a classic for sure.
Yeah. Um. So, what about the '90s? What was your favorite film from the '90s era?
Animated?
Yeah.
That's
I,
gonna be Aladdin, probably. Because what we got Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas, Mulan, Hercules, Tarzan.
and
Is it a '90s release?
Hunchback.
Hunchback. Hunchback. I couldn't
Yeah.
think of the '97 movie. I'm like, there's a '97 movie. So it is Aladdin for sure. But that was a solid run. The Renaissance was solid. You
Right.
can't beat it. I mean, I love Down Under. I think it's really slept on. I think Rescuers Down Under is just so beautiful. And how do you not like dance to Hercules and Mulan? They're all and Tarzan even. Come on, I don't know. They're
Right.
all great. And Lion King. I mean, I love Lion King, but I'm a Lion King 2 stan. So like I always forget about Lion King because I'm always like Lion King 2. But it's Aladdin. Aladdin, I think, it's the one I revisit the most. So I might like feel like one is a better film or whatever, but
Right.
Aladdin is just like perfect because it's the perfect balance of like drama and funny and music is so good. Like every song is good. And I don't know, I think Aladdin is like peak. So it's Aladdin.
Well, I do love Aladdin, and for me, The Rescuers Down Under, the music, Bruce Brightman did the music, and like the way I'm sitting now, I was on the edge of my seat going, okay, is Bernard ever going to propose to Bianca? I mean, Jake
I
kept jumping in.
know.
It was like a soap opera. Jake kept popping in and out of nowhere.
I mean, Down Under, I think, is fully made by McLeish
Mhm.
and Joanna.
Right.
Like they're so good. Joanna is the most underrated little like oblivious villain character of all time.
She is, and I laugh every time I see the scene where they're in the kitchen with the
With
eggs.
the eggs, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm.
She's untouchable. I love her so much. She's so funny.
Exactly. And it's ironic too that I think that was like the first '90s film they did where they killed off the villain because McLeach dies going off the cliff. Well, the water.
The first '90s film you're saying
Well, as far as
that
like
did that.
like a '90s movie they did where they killed off the
Okay,
villain.
because I'm
Yeah,
pretty. Doesn't the Horned King die? Doesn't Radigan die?
Radigan. Yeah. Well, Detective was in '86 and Rescue
Right.
Down
So
was
that's
in
why I was
'90.
clarifying. You mean like
Yeah,
'90s? It was the first villain to die in the night. Okay, great,
yeah.
awesome. Yes.
Um, but I love the Aladdin. I mean, I love, obviously Friend Like Me, and they had Robin Williams as the genie, and Scott, who was Aladdin, who I seen on Full House, and I was like, oh, he was on Full House. Okay, interesting. So it was.
Yeah.
Only thing I thought was funny was they had the princess who had a tiger for a pet, and I was like, well, why not a dog? We got a whole freaking
Raja.
tiger.
Let her have Raja.
So what is the, well, not to give it away, I don't know if I should, but I was gonna say, like, what is the last few projects that you tackled on your channel for Disney lately?
Oh, that I'm working on right now, currently.
Yeah.
So Celebration Month always puts me like behind of where I usually like to be. So I usually like to be 5 weeks ahead, just to like give myself cushion and like be able to do 2 movies a week without panicking. But Celebration Month always puts me behind. So like 2 weeks ago, I filmed 8. And I actually finished editing those 8 yesterday, and then Tuesday of this week I filmed 3, and those 3 were Oz the Great and Powerful, Wings of Life, and Monsters University. And I finished editing those today and was working on the thumbnails right before we started. So those are the most recent I'm working on.
I need to finish watching that movie, Monsters University, because like every time I try to watch it, I get distracted and go do something else. I never finish.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I need to
Sure.
finish watching Monsters University. But of course, Monsters Inc. was, as far as the 2000s at Pixar go, that and Cars and The Bug's Life were the ones that always stood out to me.
Incredibles?
Incredibles was boring.
No, you are wild for that. You think A Bug's Life is more fun than Incredibles?
Heck yeah! It was a story
No,
about
you're
bugs.
insane for that. Absolutely not. No. Mm-mm.
Oh my god.
No, A Bug's Life hate. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
But Incredibles is awesome. And Finding Nemo? What are we doing?
Okay, yeah, Finding Nemo. Yes, that is a favorite
Okay.
because
Okay.
Dory, short-term memory loss. I use that on anybody who say they got bad memory. I'm like, okay, you're Dory, you're short-term memory loss. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
yeah. I don't know if you watched. Well, you probably have watched. I don't know if you did a video on it or not. I didn't check that, but I know you did Waking Sleeping Beauty. Have you done Howard Ashman yet? The documentary on him.
No, so I'm going in chronological order by year.
Okay.
And Howard was like 2020 or 2021. I have seen that personally when it came out. I destroyed me. I sobbed. I can't. I get so emotional anytime any of the Disney people talk about Howard Ashman. I watched, like, for Little Mermaid, one of the bonus features on the 30th anniversary Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
I did like Little Mermaid was 300, and it was the 30th anniversary of Little Mermaid that year, and like it all lined up. It was beautiful. I watched every single bonus feature content thing I could get to like make it a really full and beautiful 100th. And there's a bonus feature that I think you can watch it on Disney Plus even. That is Alan with Jodie Benson, Judy Kuhn, Donna Murphy, a woman. Oh,
It's like Alan Menken and the ladies, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Paige O'Hara, and then I cannot remember the name of the woman who was a muse, and that's I'm really upset about that. But he's got a handful of ladies, and they're singing parts of their songs, and they're talking about it. And Jodie and Paige, I believe, and Alan start talking about Howard, and Alan gets emotional, so I am like immediately like, no, I can't do it. And I like cry during it. Anytime someone talks about Howard Ashman, I think it's a huge tragedy and so sad because he was such a like talent and person full of life. And I've seen Alan Menken. He like does a tour sometimes,
Right.
And I saw him live, and when I saw him live, Alan Menken's parents had like basically like passed away one after the other. And he sang Proud of Your Boy, which is the unreleased song from Aladdin, or like the song that it is released, but it wasn't in Aladdin. Wept my heart out. Oh my gosh, so good.
It was a beautiful documentary. I mean,
It was.
you might have saw in the intro. I had Don Hahn on here, and I interviewed him. It was great talking about that, and him. You know, Howard, a genius. The way he describes like the making of the movies, like when he talked about making a Little Shop of Horror, where the lady was singing about. He said it actually like she's singing about a garbage disposal. It's just how he was so liberal about the tale about making each Broadway show or the Disney films, and you know, and I'm glad that they were able to. Don was able to do that documentary, and it was a way to educate today's generation as well. For those who weren't '90s babies, like you were a '90s baby, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in line with me and others who grew up with these films, so they hear
Mhm.
about Howard and his early years and what
Yeah.
his likes were and his parents. You know, I cracked up when Sarah was telling a story about him and his dad going fishing, and it was like, "Are you having fun?" No, no. Okay, so well, Howard's not fisherman; he wants to do Broadway. So you know, so
Yeah.
it was great.
Amazing.
Um, well, as far as the what about the 2000s now? As far as like Dinosaur and Emperors and Atlantis and all of them.
Not dinosaur. 2000s. Okay, this is where we start to get a little bit. I do love Emperor's New Groove. That might be the pick if we're doing just Disney
Hmm.
releases. Um, what do we have in 2000s? Emperor's Chicken Little, isn't that still 2000s? And Home
Yeah,
on the Range.
yeah,
Wow, the 2000s were rough.
and
Let me.
Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on. Okay, that's the pick. Probably. Lilo and Stitch and Emperor's New Groove are both so good. I think Disney has not done a funnier movie than Emperor's New Groove. I genuinely think Emperor's New Groove was like their top tier in comedy animation. Uh Let me see. What do we got? What do we got?
Treasure. What was it? Treasure
Treasure
Planet.
Planet,
Yeah.
I think is '09, so Treasure Planet is another one. Yeah, so we got Atlantis as a Disney release. We got Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet.
Was not my favorite.
Uh, Treasure Planet, shocking. Brother Bear. Okay, Brother Bear is good. Teacher's Pet,
Mm.
Home on the Range. Yeah.
Your faces.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, Valiant. We don't talk about that movie. Oh my god. Chicken Little. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Was was Balt a part of that as well? Balt.
Bolt was 2008, I think. Meet the
Okay.
Robinsons.
So now we're talking about those films later on that I did not watch after Lilo and
And
Stitch and all that.
Bolt, and then where's Treasure Planet? Oh, Princess and the Frog. Okay. So we're looking at Lilo Stitch, Emperor's New Groove, and Princess and the Frog. Those are probably my peak of the 2000s. Lilo and Stitch is so good.
It is.
Yeah. And then Emperor's New Groove, genuinely, I don't think they've done a funnier animated film.
Um, well, I love Emperor's New Groove, of course. That's my favorite. And yes, Dinosaur. That movie. It stands out. I thought it was cooler than Jurassic Park. I'm sorry.
Yo, okay. I don't care that you said that, but there are people that are gonna care you said that. Oh my word.
um, Lilo and Stitch and Atlantis were great. I mean, I thought it was great that they had Michael J. Fox as the voice after he did Stuart Little and Homeward Bound
Totally.
Chance. So,
So
oh,
good.
yeah. Oh, you know that movie Homeward Bound? Okay. Okay.
Homeward Bound came out 1993. So I've already watched it. But also I watched it growing up. I loved that movie.
Mm.
Oh, so you know Homeward Bound, sir? Do you
I
remember the name
know.
of the channel?
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true.
I'm
You,
kidding. I'm kidding.
you.
I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, well, you got me because you've seen films that I have not watched yet, and you would name something. I'm like, what is that? Or when did that come out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I've watched 800 plus. So
Um, the only other 2000s film that stood out to me was The Princess and the Frog because I thought it was great that they went back to the 2D
oh yeah,
style and they had
so good.
Ron and John a part of that. Um, and I guess the Planes by Pixar. They did a movie called Planes. With
Yeah, that's not in the 2000s though.
I know.
Oh, okay. I'm about to watch Planes actually.
Oh, watch it. It's a good film. Part one.
I
Well,
think I've seen Planes Fire and Rescue, but I
mhm.
haven't seen Planes.
Now,
So
how do you see the
it's
sequel and not see the first one?
the drive-in. I went to the drive-in to see something, and Planes Fire and Rescue was the next movie. So no, next I'm watching is The Lone Ranger, and then Teen Beach Movie, and then Planes. So it's very close.
Well, Jess, I know that you started this amazing channel, but I'm going to ask you, what is Jess Lambert's Disney watching legacy? What is your legacy?
What? What do you mean? Like what?
You have an amazing legacy for what you've done. I mean,
Okay,
this is something
thank
that you
you.
have on your body of work, and
Hmm.
it can be on your resume one day. And if you get a job at Disney, be like, "Hey, I did this YouTube channel, and I watched every single Disney film." I mean, now I don't know how many of the veterans like I think Mark Hennis might still be there, or he might
I mean,
retire.
he just became a Disney legend.
Yeah, so I know some of them animators and people are still there. I know a lot of them have retired and left, but if you meet one of them one day, be like, "Hey, I have this legacy on this resume. I watched all these Disney films nonstop.
Sure.
I did have a beer afterwards, but I'm just playing. No, she didn't.
I really didn't.
well,
So
mhm.
I don't know. I mean, it'll be when I've caught up. I'll take a nice big break because I've been doing this for 8 years. So I'm entitled to a
Right.
break. But after that, I don't know. Just it'll be some really amazing 10-year project I did, I guess. That I'll be able if I ever do meet people from Disney or go to Disney or whatever, I'll get to be like, oh yeah, well, who can say they've done this here?
Right.
So that'd be cool. Like I'd get to hold that over maybe people who have worked at Disney for 30 years. I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, well, for 10 years I watched them all, so
And then next you're going to do every single PBS show or
no.
Nickelodeon show.
Um no, but people have been like, would you go back and do Paramount Plus? And I'm like, oh my god, or no, I'm
Oh
not
my
Paramount.
gosh.
Right. Paramount Pictures.
Mm.
Or what am I? That's what I'm. Paramount Pictures. Touchstone Pictures. Oh my god. Took me way too long to get there. The company that they own, Touchstone Pictures, where they did like Pulp Fiction and Pretty Woman and all that. People
Mm.
have been like, would you go back and do those? And I'm like, no. I don't want to. Please don't give me more. I've already watched 800 plus movies. Please don't make me do that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hold a record. I'm sure there might be some others who might have attempted to do that have done
Right.
this.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, a huge chunk of my audience is people who found me because they're doing the same thing. So, and I'm sure there are people who have already done it and they just didn't document their process. And to be clear, like I've watched and filmed and put out 800 plus. I've definitely seen more than that because now we're getting into the zone where like I saw all of them as they came out.
Right.
So like there's a handful of movies I haven't seen as we're going along, but like I've seen most of the Marvel movies, I've seen most of the Star Wars movies, I've seen every animated release they put out in theater since where I'm at until now, and I actively still do go see them, so
Right.
even though I'm like at 810 or whatever, I've definitely seen more than 800 Disney movies because I've seen the movies already type situation.
Well, I will say right now, you're tempting me to do that because I'm also this big Disney nerd and geek. And one of the reasons why I do what I do, I mean, I'm a delivery job, but I also do short films and documentaries now. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do because Walt Disney was a big pioneer. And, I mean, I don't know if they'll do it because maybe generational wise, I don't know, but I keep hoping one day they'll put the Disneyland episodes on DVD or stream them or something like they was doing before with the Walt Disney Treasures. Because I used to collect them, and when they stopped, I was like, "Come on now, y'all didn't even put every episode out." So I know there's a YouTuber that's been
Yeah.
posting them, but I wish they
Well,
would
I
remaster them,
don't
put them
know
out.
why they don't have literally everything on Disney Plus. That's really frustrating to me. Like, stop doing that. Give me
Right,
everything. Also, the fact that they just shut down Disney Movie Club has I'm like, what are we doing? Where is that? Where are you going to sell hard copies of your movies? I need them.
right,
Like they just put out like pre-order Inside Out 2 and I'm like, how? You took away Disney Movie Club. I can't pre-order it. And now they're getting rid of Disney Movie Insiders, which is where you could like collect points and everything. And I was like, your girl had 24,000 points. I wanted to do the studio tour. And now they don't have the studio tour anymore. So I'm like having to spend all my points on weird stuff because I want like to spend my points and get my money's worth, quote unquote.
right,
But I'm like, what? You're getting rid of all the things. Disney
right.
Movie Club, like, that's how I got some movies that were like deep cuts. So I'm like, what am I gonna do though?
Um, hmm. That's a good one because now you got all these points, but now that didn't happen, and it's like, hey, what now? So that's
Yeah, I'm so sad. I'm like, Disney, what are you doing? Knowing them, there's gonna be like new things. There's gonna be like new sites and new
right.
whatever. And I'm like, okay, fine. But like,
So I know you've done like the movies, but like, oh, you know what? I forgot to mention one. Have you done a Goofy movie yet?
yeah, of
In
course.
in,
Oh,
in extremely,
1995. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Classic. Yes, of
Okay,
course.
okay.
Both great.
I love
Excellent.
both. Yeah,
Oh yeah, 100%. A Goofy movie, I feel like gets looked over because it came out in the same year as Pocahontas, so people were like Pocahontas, which is still great, obviously. But a Goofy movie is so good. That's probably like it goes Emperor's New Groove, a Goofy movie for like
right.
comedy, So very good.
Yeah, I love the second one too. Extremely Goofy
Oh my
movie.
gosh,
Yeah,
excellent.
it was.
I literally just referenced that Tuesday in my Monsters University video
Mm.
because I said I feel like Monsters University is a mix of an extremely goofy movie and Sydney White, which is like such a deep cut. Sydney White is an Amanda Bynes movie. So
Oh.
yep, yep. But it just like reminded me of those two movies, so I was like
Mm.
laughing at myself combining those two films. But yeah, Monsters University. By the way, I know you said you were trying to get through it. I would say the last third of that movie is the strongest. So if you can get through like the first half, you'll get there. The last like third is so good.
Awesome. Well, I need to get it quick then. 'Cause I do have, Disney Plus, and
Hmm.
there was a point where I would put movies in like my watch list, and
Yeah,
anytime, and I would go through a checklist of what to watch, and so I need to watch it. I just reinstated. I just put on my Disney Plus. 'Cause I shut it off briefly because financially trying to do
sure, sure.
monthly, but yeah, I'm going to watch it. I need to finish watching that.
Yeah,
The only thing I was going to ask you was, 'cause I thought you made a great reference when we was talking about Wicked Sleeping Beauty. I thought you made a great reference talking about the structure of how Disney revamped itself in the '80s, and I was going to say, like, what did you? Well, for those that's watching that don't know, like, what did you took away from watching that movie, and what's something that you learned that you didn't? Well, what did you already know, and what did you learn that you didn't know about from that movie?
oh, okay. When watching Waking Sleeping Beauty.
Right.
Okay. Um, so I did know most of it. because a lot of like bonus content in all the Renaissance films talk about it.
Right.
So I would say the parts I didn't know were a lot of the drama with Michael Eisner. So I would say that's the stuff I learned that I was like, oh, interesting. And I was like sad to hear of the one CFO, I believe it was, that passed away, and
Oh, Frank
who was like
Wells.
super, yeah, Frank Wells, thank you. I knew it was a Frank, I couldn't remember his last name. So like learning all about like how kind he was, and everyone really loved him, and when he passed it was like a ooh, now everyone's kind of sad. um so that was like the whole sequence. Like I knew Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, people were like, he no, but he was a powerhouse. I did
Right.
not know Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg were like beefing. So I thought that was really interesting to learn during that
Right.
time. But obviously the stuff that needed to happen happened, because here came Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, and they, I think, have had, they had a revival era, probably like right around like Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen and all that. That was like another big revival for them because,
Right.
Home on the Range. I'd say Tangled. Tangled is probably the start of their big revival era. Because and Princess on the Frog ish, but they were still like, it's kind of like Princess and the Frog is Oliver and Company,
Right.
and Tangled is Little Mermaid. Does that, like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like
Right.
that's how it is. So I feel like they've had a revival era then, but I don't think it was as big as the Renaissance. Like the Renaissance literally saved the company. Like,
Right.
so they did what they had to do. Like they were lucky, which is wild. But
Yeah. Well, for me, well, there's a lot of things I did not know when I watched that film, even though I knew a little bit because I had the Little Mermaid DVD from 2006, and Jeffrey and all of them is on, and they talk about that a bit. But watching that, and plus, Randy Cartwright, who had all them home movies from the early years, and
yeah,
Ramilla is in that too. It's like it was great doing that, and the whole no talking heads where it's just voiceover, which is what I do with my documentaries. I thought all that was cool. And I thought that was an interesting dynamic too, that Jeffrey and Michael, considering that they both worked at Paramount and they had them years, and then come to Disney, they revamped it because the '70s was more live action than animation. They only had Rescuers, Robin Hood, Aristocats. They had Dumpling Gang, the People Wore Tennis Shoes, Herbie, all them films. So
the amount of the amount of movies they put out in the 70s is unrivaled.
right.
They have not done another decade like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that was wild how they just kept that. It was like Don said,
Yeah.
animation felt like a stepchild. And I felt that movie captured a lot about that period. The only thing I was challenged about, in my own opinion, was Jeffrey Wright, as far as him trying to be a Frank or just leaving and doing DreamWorks. I was like, well, Jeffrey, he was a prick, but when he was there, the work did get better. So I was 50-50 about Jeffrey's role in the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Jeffrey could have gotten the same result without being as nasty as he was.
Right.
But say la vie, I suppose. Yeah, so the 70s goes from, in my list, it goes from 117 to 196. So that's like 80 movies, whatever, like that's almost 80 movies or something like that.
Right.
The 60s goes from 46 to 116.
Mm.
So that's 60 movies. Like that's, that's a good chunk or whatever. But we're talking like 80 movies, and then they never do that again. To 197 to 197 to, oh, just kidding. 197 to 306 is what I have in here.
Mm.
Oh, the 80s had more movies. I stand corrected, I suppose. Although the 70s, I had a lot of 70s movies missing on this list.
Mm.
So it's actually more than that. Oh, gosh. But the 70s was insane. And it was way more live action than it was animated.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely bonkers.
Well, you touched on a lot, and I admire like what you do, and like I said,
Thank
I'm tempted to do that myself because I am a nerd, and I got
It is a super fun project.
mhm,
Like, it's so, you're gonna hit movies that are like so bad, but that's part of the fun. And then you'll find movies you're like, oh my god, why don't like this is so good. Like television releases that just got forgotten. Sammy the Way Out Seal, Almost Angels. Like there's so many fun television releases that no one knows about because they just stopped being on television.
right.
So definitely, I would recommend it. You don't have to do every single one, but I would definitely recommend like going back and watching ones you've never heard of or something along that line because it's super fun.
Well, the two films that were on my list to kind of try and sit there and watch because I didn't know if I would like them or not, or because they were kind of long. And you're probably gonna go when I say it, but I'm gonna say it. It
Okay.
is it is Tron and the Black Hole.
Okay, Tron's fabulous. You need to watch Tron. Tron's so good. The Black Hole. Oh no. The Black Hole is such a ride, dude. Oh my god. That movie is like scientifically terrible. They're out here breathing in space, I guess. So but that movie is a trip.
Right.
I would love to see a Black Hole remake. Like make that movie make sense. It could be really good.
Yeah, and with all the technology they got today, I mean, they could go crazy with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely true.
I seen the Black Hole a little bit on Turner Classic Movies once, but I came in
Mm.
at like the very end, and the only thing I took away from it was they're in this space mobile thing, and then you got the robot character, and for some reason I thought, okay, is this the Black Hole before Wally because of the robot character?
It is not Wally. I
I
promise you
know.
that. It is such a ride, that movie. The 80s, they tried everything. They threw everything at the wall in the 80s.
Right. Okay,
Tron though, so cool.
I got to confess that too. I do not like Wally.
Why? What's the Wally hate for?
I know. I know. I'm putting
I
Wally
mean,
down. It's.
that's fine. It's your opinion for a reason.
I.
I have never heard someone say they don't like Wally.
It's not that I got hate for Wally. I guess it's another thing where I need to really watch it and understand the story better. But it's just
Hmm.
because I guess because for me, I'm somebody that likes action and adventure.
Sure.
Like it's like if you ask me an action film, of course I'm going to say Beverly Hills Cop or Lethal Weapon because I like the action stuff like Robin Hood and all that stuff. I like action. And with Wally, I, mm,
Wally, so I think I love, well, first of all, Wally, like the story is so sweet and also a great message. Don't pollute the planet. Um, but I think the reason I like now as an adult really like Wally is because I went to film school. And so
right,
in film school, they like bang into your skull, show, don't tell. And Wally is literally like the peak of show, don't tell because Wally can't speak.
right,
And Eve can't speak more than like, her name or whatever. And Wally can't speak more than his name. So like it is literally a movie of showing instead of telling. And that is like such a feat. They tell the most beautiful story with barely any dialogue. So I think I geek out about it a bit because I'm like, oh my god, look at him go. But no, I mean, I respect it. Whatever, you're gonna like what you like and not like what you don't like. That's fine. I'm not gonna be here like, how dare you hate Wally? Or not hate Wally, but how dare you not like Wally? Whatever.
I mean, I got respect for the character. I mean, he.
Sure.
I will say for some reason, and again, I have to watch the whole thing. But from what I've seen in the trailer and what I've seen a little bit on Disney Channel, my heart touched for Wally because I'm like, here, this little robot. He's by himself. There's no human figures around, and he doesn't talk. So he has to figure out how to survive. And this is a whole movie. And I was like, how did Disney do that? I mean, it's like even though it's not the same thing, but it's like Dumbo from Sleeping Beauty. I mean, Snow White. He doesn't talk, but he does he move motions. He makes noises.
Yeah.
And so with Wally, it's like, well, okay, but now he's a robot. I'm like, okay, I gotta really, I gotta watch. There are some movies I need to really
Give
go
it
back
old
and watch.
college try. You don't need to like don't feel peer pressured to like it. Like what you're gonna like. That's fine.
Mm,
But it's a beautiful movie. And Andrew Stanton hit it out of the park so hard with that movie. They let him do John Carter. So
right.
that was big money.
Um, I think. Well, I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? So I know you watching every Disney film, but is there like a Disney series that stands out as a favorite, like Goof Troops or Darkwing Duck or Ducktales? Any of them?
Oh. Okay, so the theme song for DuckTales is my favorite. So good. Those were a little bit early for me to watch. I love DuckTales and like Chippendale Rescue Rangers and Tailspin and Goof Troop and all that because of my brother. But me growing up, I was like a Kim Possible girly. I loved Kim Possible. Um I don't know if there was another like animated one that I was like madly in love with. But I loved like Lizzie McGuire and Raven and like
Right.
stuff like that when I was young. So those are probably the big ones. But Kim Possible was like my fave. I loved Kim Possible so much.
Have you well, since we touched on him, I was going to ask you you watched That's So Raven. Did you watch Raven's Home and the Kim Possible
Um,
remake?
I saw a clip of Raven's Home and was like, oh, they're doing the same thing they did to all the like what they did with Girl Meets World and made it way too like cringe town. So I didn't watch Raven's Home. And then the Kim Possible live action remake. I like the song, like the girl that is the Kim Possible.
Right.
She did a version of the song. I like it. It's pleasing to my eardrums. But the movie I saw clips of and was like, oh no, I have to watch this one day. How unfortunate.
Well, I do love the Kim Possible because I love Kim Possible, and I thought it was cool that even though I didn't find out till years later that the guy is Will Fidel from Boy Meets World,
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah,
oh, didn't know that, but I
yep.
love that. Raven's Home was okay, even though it's ironic that we're talking about a decade later or 2 decades later, and now she's playing a parent. I thought it was great, but one thing I kind of was interested to see was could they do maybe a story if if they were to redo that or Naturally Sadie or any of them other shows, if we could show them in like a adult world without them being parents. And it might sound
Yeah.
strange, but yeah,
I mean, it was weird to me that they like brought back these shows that were ours and made them kid shows now. And it's
right,
like you're trying to service this demographic and you're making it a show that they're going to be like, this is stupid.
right,
That's why like I wanted the Lizzie McGuire reboot so bad because Hilary Duff was going so hard for like, no, we're going to make it for the audience that watched me when they were young. So we're going to make her like a real adult and
right,
not like the cringy, ha ha ha, Disney sitcom. And that's why she like wanted it moved to Hulu, and then that's why it got scrapped. And I'm like sad because they literally were like there ready to film. Like she was with Adam Lambert and everything, and I was like, I'm so sad because I would have loved to have a Lizzie McGuire like today because that show had such great lessons and such real like problems for
right,
preteens and teens that I would have loved to have seen that for me now, like post college,
right.
But they were gonna do the same thing they did to Raven's Home and Girl Meets World, and I know I've heard Girl Meets World is like okay, it's probably one of the better ones, but I
Mm.
can't. Clips I see of it, I'm like, oh, this is not how
Oh,
Boy Meets World was.
you didn't watch that one?
I didn't watch it all the way through. My brother actually really liked it. Um, but I did not watch like I've seen episodes, but I haven't seen like the whole thing because it just like was too Boy Meets World like handled real problems. Not that Girl Meets World didn't, but they handled it realistically. Like everyone had a realistic like reaction. No
Right,
one was like cartoony. No one was ridiculous. Like there's a scene that I've always seen from Girl Meets World between Riley and Topanga and Corey, and um Riley is like in severe trouble, and it's Topanga and Riley being serious, and Corey's being such a freaking stupid person. And I'm like, this is not realistic. I'm like, no way would this be happening. Like, oh my, and like Corey's parents would have never.
Right.
They would have been so serious about it. So I just can't. I hate that I feel like over the course of time, Disney has started to treat their audience more and more like they're dumb.
Right.
And that's unfortunate because the stuff that was more popular growing up was the stuff that was like absolutely real and what people were dealing with.
Right.
You know, like The Color of Friendship.
Oh, I love that movie.
Disney would never make that movie today.
Right.
And that's an incredible film.
Yeah.
So like, what are we doing? You know, there's a Disney film that came out on TV. God, what is it called? It's with Patrick Dempsey, a very young Patrick Dempsey, about epilepsy. He's got severe epilepsy. That movie was so good. And I was like, why don't they make stuff like this anymore? I don't understand. It's all about like, woo, and it's like cringy.
Right.
It's really not the vibe anymore.
Well, see, this is why Disney need to hire you, you know, because you voice your opinion so well and you're on point. I mean, they'll listen to you. They'll make changes if you join the presidency there.
Oh, the president. Okay, that's how I'm going to become president.
Yeah.
It's Disney president. Okay, sorry, Rob. Sorry, Bob Iger. It's my turn.
Right. Right. Show them. You know, a woman.
No, I know nothing about business. Please don't make me CEO. Yeah.
Well, Girl Meets World, I mean, I didn't fully watch every episode, but I thought it was okay. I mean, the one thing I was hoping they would have done, even though they didn't because it was a new show in their generation, was that they did one show around the original cast and kind of show where everybody's lives went after the show ended. Because a lot of people like Angela Turner and others were kind of recurring, like Sean. I mean, Sean was on, but he didn't have a major story like the original show. So I would have loved to have just seen that for one episode. Where did everybody's lives go afterwards? But of course, it didn't touch the original one. The original one was my favorite.
That's my point. Like, I feel like I think the closest Disney has come in recent years is Andy Mack. Everything I've seen from Andy Mack, I've been like, okay. I'm like, this is it. That's the show where they're telling the truth, and Andy's dealing with real problems, and her friends are dealing with real problems. I'm like, look at how successful that show was.
Right.
So I just like wish they would do that more. Because I really feel like it's the stuff that's really beneficial and sticks with you. It's how it becomes such a legacy.
Right.
You know? And then you can have the show. Like, you can have The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. That's like mostly slapstick comedy, but they did sprinkle in real stuff in there.
They did.
And that's what I think is key. It's like, you can be stupid. Like, you can have the slapstick or ridiculous campy stuff, but like, you have to be based in some kind of like truth that people are going to experience. But I feel like a huge problem is like, now it's like 50-year-old people writing what they think kids are like doing. And it's like, that's not. There are some experiences that are universal. Stop trying to guess what the kids are going through.
Right.
Like, all the stuff that everyone in Boy Meets World went through, still stuff kids go through, just in a modern universe. Like, as horrible and dark as it is, why aren't you doing stuff about like school shootings? That's a reality kids are dealing with. I mean, we literally just had Georgia. So like, do it. Don't be pansies, you know, like, cover the stuff that kids are dealing with. Sorry, that's my soapbox. Thank you so much.
Good. No, you're good. You're right. I mean, that's something that would be interesting. I mean, I think that's one of the, and even though it's not Disney related, but that was one thing I appreciated about Degrassi when they did the school shooting on that show, and then One Tree Hill. Okay, that's another
major
one.
Drama. That was a super soap opera for teens, which is giving like Summerland and One Tree Hill, and you know, that's classic.
Yeah, very ironic, right? That Drake went on to be a rapper after all that.
Yeah. Yikes.
Um, I was going to say, with Andy Mack, it was a favorite. The last three from the Disney canon that I kind of kept up with, television show wise, was Andy Mack, Bunked, and Jesse. Even though Bunk was the Jesse re crossover spinoff show,
Okay.
because for some reason I was fascinated with Debbie Ryan. 'Cause I think her and Selena
I'm sorry.
Gomez are beautiful. Why you say you said?
Because Debbie Ryan, come on. You
Oh,
know Debbie Ryan's not that good of an actress. Come
oh
on.
my gosh.
She's lovely. I love her like personality and her positive. She's so cute, but she's not that good of an actress. It's not really happening for
Hmm.
her. Selena, love Selena. I fell off shows early.
Mm.
So I don't know when in the 90s you were born. I'm gathering I might be a little older than you.
Are you born in the 80s or
No, I was
late?
born in the 90s.
Okay. Well,
Um
I'm I'll give you a hint. I was born the same year we lost Howard Ashman.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're very similarly aged. So I fell off of Disney shows early. I was
Mm.
like at the tail, definitely before A Sweet Life on Deck happened. I didn't watch any of that.
Right.
Hannah Montana was still airing, but I fell off.
Hmm.
Uh, I think Sunny with a Chance had started, but it was not something I was watching. You know, stuff like that. So like right in that era is when I fell off Disney Channel. So the stuff I've seen since, I've seen pieces of. So like I saw Wizards of Waverly Place, but I never watched it all the way through. I love the movie. Movie's so
Right.
good. I've never seen an episode of Jesse. I've never seen an episode of Bunked. I've seen, I think, one whole episode of Andy Mack and then just clips. So I've seen like some episodes of Good Luck Charlie, you know, all
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. I
kind
love
of
that show.
stuff.
Hmm.
I've never seen an episode of Sweet Life on Deck, and now I've seen the Sweet Life movie, and I'm eternally like, what the heck happened to the show? So yeah, I have no opinion on Jesse or Bunked or
Mm.
whatever you is it Bunked? You kept saying
Yeah, Bunked.
okay.
It was a spinoff from
I've seen the
Jesse.
theme
Yeah,
song for Stuck in the Middle.
yeah. I love that
I've
one.
seen that. And then I've obviously seen like clips of Girl Meets World, like I said. But yeah, I would say what I saw of Andy Mack, I was pleased. I was like, oh, okay. So like there is something still that is like kind of out here, like
Right.
portraying, I think, real problems kids are dealing with. Um, but it was still done like it's still done in a little bit weird of a way, I think sometimes. But for the most part, it was at least telling like real true stories. But glad to hear you like all of Andy Mack and Jesse and Bunked. That's cute. I love that.
Well, there were some of them later shows I did keep up with a bit. Uh, I did mention those were like the last ones I watched, and then well, you answered my question because I was going to ask you what did you think about the new Wizards of Waverly Place remake with Selena Gomez is going to come out, but you didn't watch the. I don't know if you watched the original one, so
Oh,
yeah,
I was excited to see Selena and David like promoting a reboot. I was like, no way. I
right,
never thought Selena would go back to Wizards of Waverly Place. I know she's not like the main character, but she was kind of like cameo or whatever.
yeah,
Um, super interesting. Didn't see that happening. So that's fun. I'm excited for David because he's good people. I feel like him and his kid, so cute. Can't deal with it.
and he's come a long way from the That's So Raven days because he was on that as a kid, and then he ended up having his own show with them, and now he's
Yeah.
back. Um, there's still so much more we didn't touch on, but you know what? I gotta have you back
Oh, okay, fine.
because I know our guest here today is hungry, and I don't want her to eat her microphone up because she needs that to continue. Oh my gosh. Um, well, the announcement I was going to make, and it'll tie into me asking you to come back. Well, fans who's watching right now, and Jess, you're getting the first scoop on this one. Well, it's not that I'm retiring from podcasting. It's just that I've done PE Slick podcast for 5 years, and it's been great. But I kind of want to just change my logo to the Ranger Matt Hour because that's my nickname. I want to kind of do something new and different. Also, because when I started this podcast, I probably should have put this on a separate channel and not the same channel I do my movies on. Because whenever I tell a guest, "Hey, look at my channel," you'll see my guests who I've had on. They might stumble upon something and then, "Oh, you mean movies too?" Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, I didn't tell you that. So, but I just want to do something new and different direction. And ironically, I got some guests who are going to come back. I reached out to them and just something new, fresh, and different. Originally when I did this podcast, it was not streamed. It was over the phone. Luckily, people could trust me with their phone number. I would call people, record the interview, edit it later, post it. And it was really just book authors and pastors and motivational speakers. And then it became soap opera stars, Disney stars. And as you saw in the intro, I had some animators and Don Hunt and others on. And it's been a journey, but I just want to start something new and different and fresh. I'm older now, and now I'm making movies. You probably don't know this about me, but I just did a documentary on Barney and Friends. That's on
I did.
YouTube.
I saw that.
And now I'm doing
I
something.
do my homework.
Well, I should have put my sunglasses on there. So, but I'm just want to do something fresh and new, and starting in late September. I did mention I have Ron Clements coming on
Yeah.
along with some other animators.
You did mention that. Very
And-
exciting. That's
and-
really cool.
So, yeah. So, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you back for my new channel, and so we can touch on some other things we didn't get into.
Okay.
I definitely wanted to get. I realized that I was going to ask you about the Santa Claus, and we didn't.
The
Get into
Santa
that
Claus?
one.
Oh no!
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep my opinion to myself until the next time.
Well, take notes on that one. We're going to tap into that.
Oh.
The movies, the series. I gotta.
Oh
watch
no,
it.
I'm not watching that for you. I hope that's okay.
I'll pay you $10 now.
$10 to watch Tim Allen? Not enough money.
Didn't you say he was your Hollywood crush?
I would like you to go watch my review of Chimpanzee, the very beginning. You don't even have to watch the whole thing.
Okay. Well, but with Disney, with so many, it was so many films, and to kind of cover watching every Disney film, this, the early years, the later years, and I mean, I don't know if you watched Steamboat Willie and any other early films.
Of course. I didn't cover those because those are shorts, but who had Plain Crazy? I did do a Mickey special when he turned 90. Yeah. 90. Because 100 will be 28.
Right.
So his 90th birthday, I did. I'm sorry, I'm just realizing how long I've been doing this channel. For his 90th birthday, I did a whole origin of Mickey Mouse, and I I covered Plain Crazy and Steamboat Willie and some others. So
okay, well we're going.
That's in the public domain, by the way, now, so people can have a field day with Steamboat Willie.
Yes. The last thing I'm just going to ask you is, what can fans expect to see from you on your channel coming up?
September. For September. Okay. Let me see. Tomorrow. Well, this is live, right? So this is going to be up and okay. So tomorrow, Friday, September 6th, The Avengers comes out. That's the beginning of my Marvel releases. So people are about to lose their minds, I think. We got Santa Paws 2. If people are watching my channel, they know how much I love Santa Paws 1. So we're in for Santa Paws 2. Frankenweenie, another Tinkerbell movie, Wreck-It Ralph, Oz the Great and Powerful, etc.
I had never watched Wreck-It Ralph, so that's
that's such a good one too. Get on it. What are you doing?
I'm old
Telling me to watch the
school.
Santa Clauses and you haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Hey, Santa Claus was good. Well, at least the first one was good.
I'll give that to you.
But I'm also old school. I watch the older stuff. You know, I got to even though I watched the TV shows, as far as
Yeah,
the
I'm like, you
films,
were watching Jesse and Bunked, but you're out here not seeing Wreck-It Ralph?
I never seen the
Wow,
other
and
one.
you're a Wally hater. I see how it is.
Well, wow, so
Oh, good job.
well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Jess, I appreciate you coming out today. It's been a
Yeah,
blast having you
absolutely.
on my
Thank you.
podcast. Finally, and as my last guest for this show.
Yeah, for this official one.
Thank you. I think you are guest. I think this is episode 113. I want to say because I had my 100th episode a few weeks ago.
That's a Pixar reference. A113.
That is awesome. How many episodes have you done? Are you like 500 or?
I've watched 800 movies.
Uh,
I'm just
okay.
kidding. At the beginning, I was doing more than one movie in a video, so technically, it is a little less than probably 800. But then I went back and did a bunch of rewatches. I don't know, but it is. I've done 800 movies, so I would consider it 800 episodes.
But I will say I commend you for what you've done. I mean, watching every Disney
you.
film, and then because we're in this period now, generational wise, where people are like on their phone all the time, so to be on your phone and watch a whole film back to back, it's like I commend you for that, and
Thank you.
I admire that. You are going to be a generational touch for the next generation of people growing
Thanks.
up when they come out of high school and be like, "Hey, I want to do that too." You know?
Oh, thanks.
So,
I appreciate it.
so thank you for Jess. I appreciate it, and
Thank you. I'm honored to be your last guest. It was wonderful meeting you and being here.
Thank you. It's been a journey, and I look forward to having you on my new show.
Your rebrand. We love a rebrand. Let's go.
Well, thank you, Jess, and
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna don't leave yet. I'm just gonna
Okay.
take you away, and I'm gonna close the show. Well, guys, thank you for I was gonna say another day with Range and Matt, but this is my last show for PE Slick Podcast. Thank you guys for watching for the last 5 years. I appreciate it. Don't leave me though. I'm just bringing on to the Range and Matt hour. And I probably should have said this when Jess was here, but I'll announce it now real quick. PE was Parish, my last name, and entertainment. And that was my film logo when I was doing my short films. So PE Slick, nickname, and podcast. So, and it probably seems weird because I don't have my hat. Cause I had a hat, but because I got long hair, I don't think that's going to look right. But thank you guys for tuning in for since December of 2019, 5 years. It's been a journey, and I hope you follow me on my new channel, The Range of Matt Hour. There's going to be some guests coming back from the past. There's going to be some new guests coming on. I got some announcements coming on. I'm going to show some treasures that I got because there's some Disney treasures as far as videos and things I have and other things I'm going to show. And for those who have seen my Barney documentary, I have some people from Barney's past who was not in the documentary who I've interviewed who are going to come on, who I've spoken with, who's going to come on my new show. So I'll be tuned in and watch. Jess is going to come back. And Jess, I'm going to watch Wally. I'm going to watch every film we've touched on. And Jess said she's going to watch every Santa Claus film. No, she didn't. She didn't say that. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all. Love and kisses. God bless. And, stay safe. It's been fun. It's been a ride. Take care now.